Let's begin today's Vanguard news with Mega Colony players eating good tonight, as they're being represented once again with a new ride line for Stoichelia in DZBT03. Udumba, a banana is your typical D-series starter. That sounds like you're mocking the intelligence of a banana. Gilt Copper Amp, when ridden over by Majestic Gomuga, lets you add up to one grade 3 or higher Stoiraja card or Sutra Order card from the top 7 cards of your deck. And while on rear guard at the end of your turn, you can retire himself, if you played a Sutra card this turn, to add a grade 3 or higher Stoiraja card from your drop zone. Stoichelia really gets one of the better grade 1 ride line cards of any nation. Being able to filter for your persona right early ensures that your turn 4 play is going to be very effective. Majestic Gomuga, when ridden over by a grade 3 Stoiraja card, lets you pay 1 Soul Blast to add up to 1 Sutra card from your deck. And when he's placed on rear guard, you soul charge 1 card and he gets 5k power if you played a Sutra card this turn. Marine General of 10,000 Waves, Cypria being the card of the day earlier doesn't seem to be a coincidence, considering that this deck uses order cards also needs soul according to this card alone. Dignitary Stoiraja, while on Vanguard during your turn, gives all your front row units 5k power if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher and you played a Sutra card this turn. Once per turn while on Vanguard, you can play an additional order card this turn, but it must be a Sutra card when you play a normal order card and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher. And while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 counter blast when he attacks to stand one of your rear guards for every Sutra card you played this turn. Bushiroad finally gives a Stoichelia deck the ability to use 2 order cards besides Zorga, after Fennel abused the hell out of this mechanic. In fact, I recommend practicing using Fennel if you want to play this deck, because it requires you to play 2 Sutra cards every turn in order to pull off 5 attacks. Principle of Non-Self is a normal order card that can only be played if you have a grade 3 or higher Stoiraja Vanguard and haven't played another copy of this card this turn. To call a grade 3 or lower card from your drop zone, then it gets 5k power and a once per turn auto ability if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher. That gives itself an extra crit if it's stood by your card's ability. It's a good thing that Stoichelia doesn't have a rear guard unit with guard restrict, otherwise reviving it with this card would be insanely good. Here's to hoping I didn't jinx this. And I have to bring up Cypria once again, as using her with this card lets you potentially loot both cards, thus always having a play for next turn. Principle of Suffering is a normal order card that can only be played if you have a grade 3 or higher Stoiraja Vanguard and haven't played another copy of this card this turn, to make your opponent's Vanguard lose 3k power until the end of their next turn. Then you can pay 2 Soul Blast if you played another Sutra card this turn, to draw a card and your opponent's Vanguard loses 1 drive check until the end of their next turn. Holy Raja, this card is Link Joker levels of good, as well as making Blank Maya's divine skill look like a joke in comparison. Losing 1 drive check and having no way to bypass the debuff outside of giving yourself an extra drive check ability is stupidly strong that I'm already hoping this card gets restricted soon. And expect rule sharks to take advantage of players who accidentally drive check an extra time, forgetting they were under this card's effect. Tamed Knight Clive, while in the drop zone at the beginning of your battle phase, lets you pay 1 counter blast if you played 2 or more order cards this turn, to call himself to rear guard. I would recommend playing the grade 1 Maple over this card if you want a recurring booster. Purgis Chlorophorus, while on rear guard, lets you put itself into your soul at the end of the battle it attacked or boosted to add up to 1 Sutra card from the top 7 cards of your deck. Definitely going to be a staple in Stoiraja, since it also becomes soul on top of searching a Sutra card. Heartful Pompilidio, while on rear guard, gets 5k power for each Sutra card you played this turn. And while on the front row rear guard, you can retire itself when your Vanguard is attacked by your opponent's rear guard, to reduce one of your opponent's rear guard's power by their original power. We previously got the D-Series Die Dragon that retires itself to become a pseudo 15k shield. And now we are getting a similar card for Stoichelia that makes a rear guard lose power. This seems to be the next defensive option Bushiroad is now attempting to sell. Viphatska, the Overflyer, when placed on rear guard, lets you pay 1 counter blast to add up to 1 Sutra card from the top 7 cards of your deck. you draw a card instead if you did not add a card with this ability. And while on rear guard, he gets 5k power for each Sutra card you played this turn. This guy reminds me so much of Commander Yan Mark from Mega Man X6. Players would always defeat him first because his weapon was overpowered. Finally, friendly Maiden Malvina when placed on rear guard from hand that isn't on the battle phase lets you pay 3 energy to either add an order card that isn't a Regalis piece from your drop zone, or call a grade 1 or lower card from your drop zone. And while on rear guard during your turn, she gets 2k power if you have 4 or more units. Seeing as how generic she is, I would assume every other nation would be getting a similar unit and thus making them cycle cards. Unfortunately, triple rare cycle cards have been declining in quality after DZBT01. All they do now is what most decks already do for their respective nation. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if Stoy Raja should have been Masanori's deck in the anime because he's a shrine priest.